Bases drop. We're punching buttons. Hang on. Get there in a second. There we are. John, hear you there. Oh, forgot the clock. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. Tuesday Thoughts. And traditionally on Tuesdays, we kind of go into deeper dives in single subjects. And this is going to be no different, but we're going to be kind of doing a bunch of different things. So 9:30, bottom of the hour, we're going to catch up with the city manager of the city of Decatur, Andrea Arnold. We're going to find out how Watchfest was for them, what they learned about the World Cup experience. And as there were over 500,000 folks down in Centennial Olympic Park for Fan Fest there, I think it was just over 170,000 that were in Decatur. And so we'll get into what it took to all the different pieces, all the infrastructure, what they've learned, all the lessons, benefits, all that kind of stuff. And we'll catch up with Andrea Arnold at 9:30. 10:30, we get to visit once again with our friend from Morehouse, Professor Howard Jean-Denis. And it came out in our conversation that we had last week about Haiti and what it's like for him to see them succeed. And it was literally in a soundbite that came to the fore. And for those of you that missed the interview that we did last week with him and having to deal with the UBPI program that has been brought by Notre Dame and 60 cities and Coca-Cola helping out, it came out in that conversation having to do with the Haitian diaspora and the impact that we saw on them and how they're out here in the suburbs of the Atlanta area where we're based. And it's an opportunity for us to understand a little better with Haiti in the U20s. They played the United States in round number 1 of the U20s. And in CONCACAF Nations League, it's in the CONCACAF U20 tournament, it's an opportunity for us. And with the Nations League group stage, the groups identified last week, it's an opportunity for us to kind of understand a little more about what Haiti as a nation has been going through, and for national teams on various age levels to continue to persevere and be seen on the international stage to this point. So we'll catch up with the professor at 10:30, and we will catch up with him there. But then what that also means is that we got a lot of other stuff to get into. We've got to get into MLS Next from last night. We're going to get into Atlanta United 2 from a couple days ago. We're going to get into the news of the morning. We got NPSL championships to get into. We got Bristol Rhythm and El Fatalito. They'll be joining us later on in the week. And you've got an EFL vote. You've got transfers. Jermaine Defoe is checked out after a handful of months at his coaching gig, and the front office there is not happy about it. Basically, they said he didn't show up. And so after like 4 months, he's out, and people are pissed. And we've also got stuff going on in national team news. Press conference this morning for Zinedine Zidane. And the worst-kept secret in all of French football is now officially official. And now we've been going back and forth basically over the last hour, legitimately over the last hour, where Italy can't seem to make up their mind, or at least the official sourcing of it can't make up its mind as to what it wants to do. And so we'll go over that this morning, and we also have some thoughts from Nick Alifi on the matter. And so we will effort Nick's thoughts on this whole thing about Pirlo, Maldini, Mancini, Ranieri. Yes, they are. No, they're not. Yes, they are. Whose music is it? Who's the literally all the stuff that's going on, all the drama that's going on in Italy. Nick has some thoughts, and he has brought them to us, and we will play them this morning. Morning, Alex. Morning, David. And morning, VCXZD. Okay, so morning VC. Glad you're here. And so all of that's going on this morning. So it's twos, it's CONCACAF, it's MLS NEXT, it's news of the morning, all your transfer stuff, and it looks like they're getting closer on Yan Diamande for multi-million bazillion dollars. And then it's going to be apparently St. Louis has now officially added to their offensive firepower, so that's officially official. And we'll get into that here in just a bit. Obviously, practice is going on for Atlanta United, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. Some folks, most of the folks have drifted in. You have reports that some players have not been out at practice this morning, and so we'll keep an eye on that this morning as well when it comes to Atlanta United. So, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Start your day with the most important stories. And the right way to start your morning is Black Pitch Coffee. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy bodied, notes of walnut, semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. This morning, every 6 weeks, 8 weeks or so, we have to take the rowdy man to the groomer. And with the boss out of town, I had to do that this morning. And so getting up a little early and having him go out and into the community and making his morning deposits. And when he goes into a car, he literally will start shaking because he thinks he's being taken someplace. He's being returned. And it is, he has been with us. This is his 4th year. And that has never changed. No matter how much you talk to him, no matter how much you assure him that he's going to get picked up and that he's going to come home and then he's basically going to be so mentally exhausted, he will sleep the rest of the afternoon. But literally, you put him in a car with his harness, and he literally will just start shaking. And I mean, there are times where if the boss is in the car, it's not bad. But there are times where with me in the car, it's almost violent shaking. And, trying to reassure him the entire time that he's just going to get picked up and all these kinds of things. It is a long morning for little man when we take him to the groomer. So I had to do that this morning, and he literally was just shaking in the seat as he was being taken there. And you take him to the groomer, and he knows who the groomer is, considering he goes to see him every 2 months in our time. But, yeah, he is not a fan of being taken in a car someplace. If he goes with us on a drive, and we're going from point A to point B, it's like we're going to go see, the mother-in-law or what have you. He will, in the city streets with all the starting and stopping, he'll get really nervous and he'll shake. But then once you get out onto the freeway and the movement is constant, he'll calm down and he'll go to sleep. But when he has to go to the groomer or has to do anything and he's in the car and it's start and stop, he thinks he's being returned. So there's always that guilt of being a parent of a rescue dog, where you're trying to reassure them as much as possible. Like I said, we talked for like 10 minutes. We talked for like 10 minutes this morning. And I tried to explain to him and tried to remind him, hey, here's the deal. You're just going to the groomer. I'm going to come get you when the show is over. It's usually about noon. And then you can come back here, and then he gets into the back seat of the car, and he'll start rubbing, and he'll rub his face and everything, and he'll just get back to being who he is when he realizes he's not being left. But it's just this stigma that is attached to being a rescue, and all of the trust that they put into you, that this is their home, and this is all the toys are theirs, the room is theirs. Beds are theirs. I mean, literally, for Rowdy, we have 4 beds on 3 separate floors. He has his bed here in the office under the table. He's got a larger bed on the mid-level next to the boss's chair. And then he's got 2 beds next to our bed in the bedroom. One that's smaller and it has a bit of a caved-in nature to it, and then the other is a little bit newer and fluffier, and so it depends. Literally, and what he will do during the night is that he will shift from one bed to the other depending on his level of comfort. But with all of that stuff that we do, and this is where I wish that dogs could talk. If you had the thing like in Up, where you had the collar, and then the dog would actually say what's going on, and then you could have conversations back and forth. If that collar actually existed, we'd probably buy it, because then it would be an opportunity for us to understand where he's coming from. We'd love to know where he's coming from, and we also like for him to understand and be reassured that he's not being left behind. And we believe in adopt, don't shop. This is the 3rd dog that the boss has had. She had her first dog was 17, and most of her adult life was with the first dog. Then the second dog, I think, died at 13. And we think that Rowdy is 9. Because when we got him 4 years ago, they're like, oh, he's 2 or 3. And then he gets very gray very quickly. So he's probably 4 or 5, probably closer to 5 when we got him. So we say he's 9 now. And we need whoever thought of the idea of the collar in Up. You need to figure out a way to create that collar in real life so we can understand, and so our dogs can understand what's going on. I can talk to Rowdy all day long. I can talk to him all day long when it comes to what's going on. Hey, here's the deal. I'm coming to get you, but just absolutely just shakes in the car like he's not wearing a coat in 20-degree weather. And it absolutely just breaks your heart. So if anyone, and this is my plea for the morning, if anyone has that kind of an idea, figure out how to create that thing, because that dog owners around the planet will be a lot better off knowing where their dogs are coming from because of their past. You say, we have assumptions about Rowdy and his past about, okay, here's what we did, and here's who he was, here's what he did, here's where he came from, and we have some assumptions, and that's about it. So the lesson for the morning is, hey, you at Pixar or Disney, create that collar in real life so our dogs can know where we're coming from, and we know where they're coming from. Like I said, I'm going to pick a Rowdy man up in about 3 hours, and he's going to be just beyond happy. It's like, open that damn door, and you just see the contrail as he's out. So, so that was this morning. And as an owner, you feel like absolute ish when you're having to deal with that, when you know that things are different, but the dog doesn't know that, no matter how much you talk to him. So that is the opening kickoff for the day. Adopt, don't shop, first and foremost. And if someone can actually let our dogs know how we are feeling and that they're not being abandoned when they're being taken to the groomer, it would be greatly appreciated. All the technology today and how technology gets created, you ought to be able to create something like that, right? That's my thought. Opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Bringing you the most important stories of the day in the game, the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community. Showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy bodied, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Yeah, probably. Oh, no. Look at you. Yeah, murdered hindrance, BIR. See ya. Bye. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, David, you got a bot in between your conversation. So we took care of that bot too. All right. So this morning overseas, it literally is one of those situations where is it or isn't it? And you know that France is. You don't know if Italy is. And you're wondering, okay, did they bring Mancini back or no? And this is kind of where we're at. As of an hour ago, Sky Italy reported that their FA and that their FA president, Giovanni Malago, has told the federal council that Roberto Mancini is going to be back in charge. Fabrizio Romano has given a here we go to Claudio Ranieri as the new technical director. So Mancini's the new head coach. Ranieri's the new technical director. Malago has announced Mancini for a second spell after having resigned from his post 3 years ago. Like I said, and we'll go back to this later in the show where we get to catch up with what Nick has to say, probably hour number 2. But just to give you the heads up, President of the FIGC, Giovanni Malago, announced Mancini. Mancini returns once again, resigned 3 years ago, led Italy to their first European championship in more than half a century back in 21, quit under the pretext of a disagreement with Malago's predecessor, Gabriele Gravina, over the national team setup. Mancini then signed a large deal to go to Saudi Arabia. And this is after what has gone on in the last 72 hours. Malago appointed the new executive team after his election in June, and then they resigned when Pirlo failed to meet with approval. Maldini and Leonardo Araujo, the FIGC's new technical director and strategic advisor, quit when Pirlo's global ambassador role with Russia's largest betting operator raised questions about his suitability. Pirlo learned on Sunday night he was no longer a candidate. Maldini and Leonardo then left after only 17 days on the job. So then Mancini had long been Malago's preferred candidate. Morning shooter. Long-standing relationship going back to the same private sports club in Rome. Conte was also available after leaving Napoli at the end of last year. In an interview with this morning's Gazzetta, Fabio Capello felt he should get the job over Mancini. Quote, "To be clear, I'm not questioning Mancini's ability as a coach, but what he did in quitting to take the Saudi job in 23 is, in my opinion, really bad." In the meantime, Chiellini had ruled himself out of replacing Maldini as technical director. He had announced his intention to remain as chief club affairs officer at Juve. And that's all from James Horncastle this morning. So basically, you had a front office that were bringing in a guy, and then when he was no longer the candidate because of ties to a Russian betting operator, 17 days in, they're out. And so now Malago is bringing in Mancini, and he's bringing in Ranieri. Going back to August 13th of 23. All of the resignation happening there with Italy's next action and the qualifiers back in 23. And so Mancini went and he got paid. So now, after having gotten paid, he's probably going to get paid more to be the head of the federation in Italy. And do not be surprised under any circumstance if things start to go a little sideways and someone wants to come at him with another bag, that Mancini goes. Do not be surprised. Do not be surprised at all. Because if he's going to do this, if he leaves Italy when he's mad and he goes and gets a big gig and gets a big payday, regardless of the size of the gig, what is it going to make anybody think that he wouldn't do this again. Oh, I'm 61. I'm happy. I don't need money anymore. Horse hockey, quoting Sherman T. Potter. If anybody comes along and things get frustrating, then it's going to be one of those situations where, as history has dictated, Roberto Mancini probably will go if someone wants to sit there and go, you know what? Hey, we want to pay you a boatload of money. Then you go to the front office in Italy. Hey, can you match this? And they'll be like, nah, all right, I'm out. Then you got to do this all over again. So everything old is new again. Mancini, Ranieri in. Pirlo, not a part of it. Previous administration, all of 17 days attached to what's going on in Italy. Like I said, we'll hear from Nick Alifi in a bit. But calmer heads were going on in France this morning, shocking no one. And obviously, the worst kept secret known to mankind, Zinedine Zidane is in charge in France. Quote, today is a dream. I've had proposals for 4 or 5 years to manage clubs, and I've rejected them all for France. It's the only thing I wanted to do. I'm going to give it my all so that the team keeps on winning. It's the only thing that motivates me. It's the only thing I've wanted to do. And so now, Deschamps confirmed in 25, he's going to leave his role after the 26 World Cup cycle. Zidane signs a 4-year deal with the national team. He's going to start the role August 1st. So he's going to be later in the week. Later in the week, I'm going to have the press conference today, but later in the week is when I'll take over. Only thing I've ever wanted to do. I've been a part of it since I was a lad. I started in the under-15s, worked my way up through every level to reach the senior squad. I'm going to give it my all to ensure this team keeps winning. That's the only thing that drives me. Asked about his style of play and Kylian Mbappe, he said, quote, we haven't spoken to Kylian yet. Most important thing for him is to get some rest. We'll have the chance to talk to him and all the players in September. We're going to do things differently. Didier is Didier. Laurent Blanc is Laurent Blanc. Zizou is Zizou. So he third-personed himself with a nickname in the press conference. I'm going to try to do what I know how to do. There is no rupture with the past. I believe it's a continuation. That continuity simply means putting everything in place so that the French team can keep winning. That's my only aim. Afterwards, we'll have the chance to discuss it in detail to find out what my game plan is, my playing philosophy, all those things. Out of work as a coach since leaving Real Madrid a second time in May of 21. As a coach, Zidane had success with Madrid, 3 consecutive Champions League titles, 15-18. Won La Liga in 2016-17 and 19-20. Left after a trophyless year. Linked with a number of gigs, including the men's national team vacancy in 23 and Manchester United. Final game as a professional back in 06 in the World Cup final, which was the headbutt on Materazzi when they were beaten on penalties. So it's calmer. It's a lot calmer in France. Yes, basically. Yeah, David, headbutt everybody. It's like a missing link from the old wrestling days. You sit there and you're like, yeah, and you sit there and you do that. So you're just going to make sure, well, that might not be practice. You know, if anyone is not paying attention to you at practice, that might be the way to do it. Sit there and you're just like, Like, you remember the old missing link in wrestling? That was kind of what that was. Yeah, and so Alex, going back to our thoughts this morning, can't remember if it was The Far Side or something else, but there was a comic that imagined if we could finally understand what dogs are saying, and all they'd been saying all along was, hey, over and over again. Well, and I mean, it definitely has to do with, getting attention. Tails are wagging. Hey, 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 hey. Either feed me or pet me or take me outside. But, yeah, I imagine that their breakdown of life is probably a little larger than just, hey, hey, hey. That might be just like in the morning when they want your attention. But legitimately, it is. But yeah, it absolutely just breaks your heart when you're taking when you're taking little man in to get just groomed, and he thinks he's being returned. He's going back. He's going back. Considering his life in multiple shelters in North Georgia before we picked him up, I understand where he's coming from. We've just got to make sure that, and he hates thunder, hates all the noise, but because he's getting deaf, it's not bothering him as much. But yeah, I believe the comedian is on the right path, but I think dogs are far smarter than that. So that's my thoughts on that this morning. All right. So it is that time where perhaps this individual and a lot of other individuals in the city of Decatur might have had a chance to catch their breath. Let me do a little housekeeping. Andrea, can you turn your device a quarter turn? Just instead of north south, can you turn it east west so it fills up the screen? There we go. There it is. Okay, cool. There it is. All right. So we'll see if Andrea's gotten any rest. So
hey, John.
Have you gotten any rest?
Just a little bit. I think everyone here at the city just collapsed last week, and but now we're back at it. So,
city manager of the city of Decatur, who's probably about 6 or 7 minutes away from these particular studios here in the part of the SDH-ness. How many folks came by Watchfest? Did you have the final math?
we do. We have had at least 170,000 visitors to the city of Decatur over the event, which is extraordinary for our small city.
When you were doing all of the projections, what were you thinking was going to? Did you have a number in mind when you started?
I don't know that we had a solid number in mind. I mean, I would say this is pretty close to where we were anticipating on average, maybe between 3,000 and 5,000 people per day. And that's pretty much where it landed, around 5,000 on average. But we had peak days of close to 11,000 people on the Decatur Square.
How many meetings did you guys have in the city to get everything locked in place? That's like for the infrastructure and make sure that all of that's all right, that everything is fine. And then you don't know what you need to fix until things start going. It's like you can do all the planning in the world. And then that's when things start going, that's when you have to adjust. I mean, how close were you to figuring out everything, and how much adjusting did you have to do on the fly?
I'll say, and I spent a lot of time during the event telling people, I said, this is what you can pull off when you put in the planning on the front end. And I think that's why it felt so good during the event. We had a high level of confidence every day that we were executing because we literally put in at least 2 years of planning for this event. And we had the right team. And it was just beautiful when you have the right people at the table to put on an event like this.
How many folks are we talking about here that were in all of these multiple Zoom calls with all of the pop-up windows and everybody with their ID plates? How many, do you know how many, you remember how many Zoom meetings you had and how many folks were in all these things to make sure that everything was the way it was supposed to be?
I mean, I'm sure we had 75 to 100 meetings. I mean, easily, because we had our internal staff team. Because really, I give kudos to the City of Decatur employees who made this happen. And that's Public Works, it's fire, it's police, and many, many others. But then we also had a whole steering committee made up of community volunteers. And so they met on a monthly basis. I mean, they came over here to City Hall at 8 a.m. many months to work through the details. So we couldn't have done it without the volunteers as well.
And that's the one thing that, we all look at when we look at an event. I mentioned this about live television too. It's like, if anybody has a dog and the dog likes to go out and chase after a stick when you throw it in the water, then the dog goes out, swims out, gets the stick, and starts coming back to shore. What you see above the water line is the dog with the stick in its mouth, just kind of huffing and puffing, and everything's fine. That's what everybody saw when they were going there to Watchfest. It's like they saw everything with the dog above the water line. Yeah, everything's fine with the dog. But what they don't see is what's going on below the water line, where the dog's going like this, trying to make sure that he gets back to shore with the stick in his mouth. And that's why I was asking about, all the below the water line stuff and all the different departments that are having to come together to make this jigsaw puzzle fit.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what people didn't see was, when that USA match was over, people left and they went home. You didn't see what was left behind, like just, the mounds of trash that were left behind. Well, who comes in, the city staff come in, clean that up. So when you come back out the next day as a visitor, the square was pristine again. But again, that's what we're here for. I mean, we were here so people could just come, enjoy themselves, have a good time, and not have to worry about the details.
Have you, after collapsing and coming back, have you guys had a bit of a post-mortem yourselves about what the city might have learned in a situation like this?
So that is to be determined. But that's an important part of any event is, coming back together and talking about, what went well, what we could have done better. But all in all, I think we're going to spend a lot of time talking about just how well this was executed.
And like I said, everybody that I talk to that is, from this neck of the woods that would go into Watchfest and see what's going on there. Any ideas on economic impact that was had into the city, projections or anything like that, or is that still being mathed out?
That's still in the works, and I think it's still going to be, an estimate. On the front end, we worked with Dr. Thomas Smith, a professor at Emory, an economist, and he put together an economic impact report, and it estimated an impact on the city of around between 62 million to I think 140 million. There was a range. And so we'll go back and look at how those estimates compare to what we experienced. But I suspect we're going to be somewhere right there in the middle in terms of the economic impact, specifically to the businesses, mostly right there that are on the square.
Did they give you, any of the businesses give you feedback after everything was over, or is that still everybody's still trying to recover and it's like, oh yeah, I need to talk to the city and tell them about my experience?
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, we have spoken with some of the business owners up on the square. One of the pubs in particular said is the best business that they've had in, almost. I mean, they've been around for almost 3 decades. It's the best business that they've ever had, and that's consistent with what we were hearing from the pubs and restaurants. Is the best business since they first opened their doors, which we also felt like was much needed because the square had been under renovation. It had been a construction zone for a year prior. You may recall that we literally, the square, we had the ribbon cutting about 1 week before the World Cup started. And it's no fun for businesses to live through a construction project. So it was a really nice way to give back after they had endured the construction for a while.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Andrea Arnold, city manager, city of Decatur, hanging out with us here for for our bit of a postmortem when it comes to Decatur Watchfest and the impact that the World Cup had on the city of Decatur. Do you have favorite moments from Watchfest in your hip pocket from what you got to experience?
That's a great question. I mean, I still go back to the first night when Big Boy walked out onto the stage, and I'm just standing there thinking, "Is this really happening in Decatur?" And then I had a moment of, "Oh my gosh, how are we going to do this for 34 days?" And then just at the very end, the last concert. After the final match and then having the final concert with the Indigo Girls from Decatur. I mean, that was kind of an emotional moment of seeing it all come to a close and just looking out over the sea of people and just seeing people coming together for the love of sport, the love of music, the love of community. And, it was pretty overwhelming to see, just people coming together and clearly needing that time together.
So, who did you get to introduce? Which bands did you get to introduce?
So, um, I don't know that I introduced any band. We had city commissioners that were up on stage. Our mayor got to introduce some of the bands. So hopefully, I think for our city commissioners, those were some highlights of introducing bands, getting to meet the band members. Everyone just seemed so happy to be on the stage. Actually, just everyone seemed happy in general to be at the event.
What did the city think the largest challenge of hosting Watchfest was going to be going in? And I'm going to pause my question right there.
I think the greatest concern from the very beginning was, were we going to have, literally, did we have enough bodies to devote to the event? And just, knowing that, Atlanta was going to be, they were going to need extra security. So were they going to be pulling our police officers or firefighters, into their event? And so we really were worried about being stretched thin.
So then having that concern going in, obviously being nimble as a part of all of this process, I imagine that the city handled it fairly well when it came to everything, because I heard zero concerns from anyone who attended anything. So I guess my question on the follow-up is, concerns going in addressed all the way through, and you came through with flying colors?
Absolutely. So, we were fine in terms of staffing, but part of that also has to do, we have to give credit to DeKalb County, to their police department for showing up and offering, some of their resources. And, they, offered additional police officers, but also some of their special units. And then MARTA as well. Kudos to MARTA for this whole event. But again, they're just, remember, their work wasn't isolated to just their stations in the city of Atlanta. They also were on site here in Decatur, and they had security personnel on site. So in addition to the city's police department, and also our first responders with the fire department, we had assistance from DeKalb County and from MARTA Police, because that was our number one priority, was making sure that this would be a safe event. And we made it through the event, with no troubles.
Did you trade feedback with the city of Atlanta or any other municipality that was doing these kinds of things? Were you comparing notes as you were going along? Were you having those constant conversations as things were happening?
Yes, and so there were, in terms of Zoom meetings, that was some of the Zoom meetings that we had as well, with the representatives from the host committee, City of Atlanta, as well as DeKalb County and the other cities in the county. So we can make sure that we had a coordinated effort, because we knew that some of the other cities in DeKalb had, they had some events going on, but nothing at the scale of Decatur Watchfest.
What do you get? So now that you're back in the office, how many people are sitting there and getting their postures like this, and they're kind of sitting there and they're cracking their knuckles and they're waiting for a moment to sit there and go, okay, so what are you doing next? What's the on? What's the on?
If one more person asked me that question, right now there's always the Women's World Cup next year.
You're about 330 days away from that.
That's right. So I've told some people that this was just practice for the Women's World Cup.
I mean, this was something that took years, and now that you've got the rhythm down, that the city is confident that it can do things of this depth and of this import. I mean, obviously, it's got to be an incredibly satisfying feeling to the city. That's like, man, we really pulled this off, and this came out to probably a lot better than maybe you had anticipated going in. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, we're the only city in the country that activated for 34 days. And I mean, this is a city of 25,000 people, just around 5 square miles. This is not a metropolis. We did not have federal funding, like the host cities, for the security, for the logistics. We did this ourselves, and we're extremely proud of what we were able to pull off. But a lot of it had to do with the fact that we relied on other agencies. We had a team of volunteers, not just the volunteers that planned the event, but then the volunteers that showed up every day, just to support the event. And so it was, yeah, pretty remarkable what we were able to pull off.
Because if anybody was wandering in and around the courthouse and the area near Watchfest, there were those large signs that were near the entry point that had the list of sponsors that the city of Decatur had partnered with to make sure that this was going to be as self-sufficient as possible. And it was a long list of folks. I mean, it was a sign that had a lot of logos on it. So to have that kind of interest and interaction and combining of ideas, that's got to be really it's got to be satisfying to sit there and go that, yeah, we could do something that is as self-sufficient as this was.
Right, and we could not have done this without the sponsors, and of course, we're also limited in terms of this of not being the host city. We were limited in who could be a sponsor, and so and I think I mean, if you had to be a FIFA sponsor, or you couldn't be in a competitive category, and so we found ourselves limited at times in terms of there were other entities that really wanted to help out. They wanted to participate, but they were excluded because of the FIFA rules. And we were obviously respectful and deferential to FIFA through this whole process.
And so, what did you do did you literally shut your phone off and put it off to the side and have the out of office memo? It's like last week, y'all don't touch me. I'm not going anywhere close. Did you actually shut everything down?
So I took a couple of days last week. We'll leave it at that.
Because I mean, literally, after 34 straight days, we can relate because we were, every day that the tournament was going on. So we understand where you were coming from. But yeah, it's just I can't, and those of us here, we can't look at what you were able to pull off in the city of Decatur for a town that is the size of Decatur, to do something as consecutively as you did, to have all of the elements that were attached to it and all of the different things that you were able to do when you came to town, whether it was the music or the matches or anything like that. No, it was a bang up job. And the boss actually had a question. Yeah, the boss. She was wondering what happened to all of the nation's flags that had the Atlanta United logos on them. Did they just disappear? Did they go back to Atlanta United? What happened to those? Any clue?
I don't know, but I'll find out. I assume they went with Atlanta United, but
We will find it. But yeah, if you could
yeah.
find, yeah, the boss was like, oh, if they got like the Cabo Verde flag with Atlanta United, that would be great. We'd put it in the office and those kinds. So you see how her priorities are with this kind of stuff. I can't thank you enough for doing this and hopping on, especially now that you're back to tackling everything, the normal things that are going on during the
Yeah,
day.
back to the day job.
In a city government. Anytime anything is going on, obviously, you know that you've got an open door with us here, and you can knock on our door and sit there and go, hey, this might be something that we could catch up on. So anytime you want to come and visit, that'd be great to catch up. But fantastic bang up job that you did. Let me see if I can get it right. Right there. There it is. The city. There's the Decatur Watchfest.
That's it. Love it.
Yeah, the Watchfest scarf is definitely here, part of the office. Can't thank you enough, Andrea, for doing this. And do you need a note to get back into class, or are you going to be okay?
I'm good. Thanks, John.
All right. Good. We'll see you soon.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. There's Andrea Arnold. She's the city manager of City of Decatur. We had her on draw day, and it was great to catch up with her down at Benchwarmers. And thanks to Kim Spees and Jen Johns and everybody that has been making sure that we were able to kind of keep up with everything going on with Watchfest as we go. But yeah, great stuff with the city of Decatur and what they were able to do with Watchfest, and very, very cool stuff there as well. So that was Andrea Arnold, the city manager, City of Decatur. I didn't realize that they'd had over 170,000 folks. Let me hang on. Let me check and see, because I thought I got an email from the city, or it might have been from Jen, on what the city was able to do in Watchfest. So hang on just a second. Let me see if I can find the Jen John's email, because the numbers were broken down. And June, so that was not there. So it wasn't in that one. So it might have been in this one, maybe. So was it here? City of Decatur? Because the city of Decatur had an actual fantastic list of stuff. And it was a breakdown of everything that they were able to do with all of their numbers. And of course, I will probably find it once the show is over, and then I will remember to talk about it again tomorrow. So, city of Decatur. So what Decatur? Watchfest? Anything there? No. Okay. It was a thought. Okay. So it exists, and I'll probably find it in an odd hour. But it was a breakdown that Jen Johns had been able to give us about 170,000 folks and all this kind of stuff. But very, very cool stuff from the city of Decatur. And they have, like I said, 34 straight days, 170,000 folks. And it was a great exercise for the city of Decatur. And yes, what are you going to do next? I think Andrea just needs to hand like an index card with like the 4 normal questions that she gets asked and then the responses. She just needs to hand that out to people when she sees what's going on. It's great to catch up with them and find out what's going on in the city of Decatur. Okay, let me loop back to what has been going on with Italy and with France quickly before we get things moving toward the top of the hour. Once again, Morehouse Professor Howard Jean-Denis is going to be joining us at the bottom of the next hour to talk about Haiti and what everything that they've had to persevere through, and still coming and being competitive in the soccer landscape. So it's going to be a bit of a political science discussion, but we're going to discuss what's been going on with the FHF and with Haiti as a nation and everything that they've had to fight through and still be a part of things. And that'll be kind of where we get into our U20 discussion with CONCACAF, and we'll let you know how things are going to be there with the U20s. All right, so let me circle back. And this is what happens when I get pinned in on topics. Golden Retriever brain kicked back in. So here is Nick's thoughts on what has been going on in the landscape of Italy, because remember, it is now today apparently Mancini Ranieri in, and it is a new era, but it is an old era. So here are Nick's thoughts on what has been going on with the national team search and the Azzurri.
Coming in 3, 2, 1. Hey, it's Nick Leafy with Soccer Down Here, Morning Espresso, coming in with a little bit of an Italian language lesson of the day, along with your Italian news drop. The language lesson of the day is che casino. Che casino. What a mess. My beloved Italy has found their way into the mud yet again. And how have they managed to do this? This is an onion, okay? It's going to take a minute, and we're going to walk through it for you so you understand more than just the surface level. Okay, so let's get to the stuff we know. The Italians, for the 3rd straight cycle, miss the World Cup. They claim they're going to blow it all up. There's mass resignations, there's retirements, people are walking away. They bring in new leadership, and the big headline here is they are bringing in Paolo Maldini. Paolo Maldini, who saved AC Milan from the banter era, a decade of obsolescence, resurrected by the one man who could get it done. And Paolo was able to do it until Redbird tried to wrest control from him, and in the process, Maldini choosing the honorable thing, and that is to quietly walk away. Hold on to that, because it comes back to play here as well.
Okay, I thought I maxed him out. All right, so hang on. All right, so let me max him out, and then we'll do it again. And so I might just do it later in the show, because if this is going to be this much of a problem, then John's a moron, but what else is new? All right, so that was take number 1. Now, hang on. So let me see if I can find my. At least you didn't hear him counting down into the whole segment. So, all right. So if I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this, it's wow. Okay, interesting. Yeah. Well, I know, but the thing is, if David can't hear, then I've got to jack it up a little more. So now I know. So hang on, you people. If I'm getting an audio issue, then I'm going to jack it up 5 dB, and we're going to go. We're going to do this. All right. So I thought I went by my levels that were attached when I was exporting this morning and sending it in the system. But if David says he can't hear, then we're going to try it again. Now I've boosted it 5 decibels, but it's all good. So hang on. All right. So let me upload round number 2. And this might be 5 decibels more. So, and I've also taken the countdown out. So that's always a part of it. So this is me and audio. I know this once again shocks you. But after this, we'll get into hour number 2. Once again, we'll get into Haiti and their diaspora at the bottom of the hour. We got to get into CONCACAF. We got to get into the MLS Next All-Star game from last night. And there's a couple of other things we have to get into. So it's going to be youth national team, CONCACAF U20s. It's going to be MLS Next and all the other things with our news and our transfers. And once again, bottom of the hour, it's going to be Professor Howard Jean-Denis from Morehouse. So how about now? I'm going to hit it again.
Hey, it's Nick Leafy with Soccer Down Here, Morning Espresso, coming in with a little bit of an Italian language lesson of the day, along with your Italian news drop. The language lesson of the day is che casino. Che casino. What a mess. My beloved Italy has found their way into the mud yet again. And how have they managed to do this? This is an onion, okay? It's going to take a minute, and we're going to walk through it for you so you understand more than just the surface level. Okay, so let's get to the stuff we know. The Italians, for the 3rd straight cycle, miss the World Cup. They claim they're going to blow it all up. There's mass resignations, there's retirements, people are walking away. They bring in new leadership, and the big headline here is they are bringing in Paolo Maldini. Paolo Maldini, who saved AC Milan from the banter era, a decade of obsolescence, resurrected by the one man who could get it done. And Paolo was able to do it until Redbird tried to wrest control from him, and in the process, Maldini choosing the honorable thing, and that is to quietly walk away. Hold on to that because it comes back to play here as well. Maldini brings along an advisor, one Mr. Leonardo, his former compatriot at AC Milan. Seems like everything's going well. They have big ideas, big new ways of handling the Azzurri going forward. Now, the primary issue here is youth development talent, right? Right? Nope, wrong. Why, Nick? This is what people talk about all the time. Italians can't develop youth. That is not quite accurate. The reality is the Italian youth teams, especially U18 and down, they're world beaters. They win the Euros. They're very competitive in youth World Cups. They have a pipeline of talent that is very, very good. The issue is there is no bridge between the upper levels of the youth teams and the senior team. Does not exist. Why? Because the clubs will start a youth talent. The kid will have a rough game. The moment's big. And then immediately, out of panic, they ship the kid out to 3rd division, Serie C, or to a relegation Serie A side. Okay? So now that we understand the landscape here, and who else has mentioned this, by the way? Oh, yeah, one Mr. Cesc Fabregas, the manager of Como in Serie A, has discussed how he cannot find youth talent because the kids who get sent up through these smaller clubs get snapped up by the big clubs and immediately redistributed out into the wilderness, right? Who does Mr. Fabregas know, by the way? I wonder. Oh, yeah. By the way, did I mention that the Italians were going to sign Pep Guardiola Oh, yeah. They may know each other, right? They may have phone conversations, things like that. Hey, Mr. Fabregas, do you think I should take this job? What do you think Cesc Fabregas would say to Pep Guardiola, a man who has known all about youth development? Well, for whatever reason that has not been specifically listed, by the way, Pep Guardiola says, nope, not interested in the Italian national team job. So the next call goes to Carlo Ancelotti. Again, somebody who Maldini and Leonardo know very well. Now, if you have read Carlo Ancelotti's autobiography, you will know that he has waited on a call from the Italian Federation ever since he got into management. And he has been left at the altar. Carlo, you're up for the job. Carlo, you're one of the candidates. Carlo, you're somebody we're keeping an eye on. Not one time did he receive the call to be the manager. This is something that Carlo is tired of waiting on. He got the job with Brazil. They didn't perform up to expectations. Brazil want to retain him. Carlo is keeping the job. He has essentially told the Federation, you guys need to figure out your own mess. This means that now Maldini and Leonardo have to move to their third candidate, who is Andrea Pirlo. Now, Pirlo had management stints at Juventus, unsuccessful, Sampdoria, also unsuccessful, and he has since moved on to Dubai United, where in the process, as all managers and players do, they pick up sponsorship dollars wherever they can. Except one of the sponsors that Pirlo picked up was an Italian betting company called Fonbet. Now, according to ESPN.com, Pirlo says that this was exclusively for commercial and sports purposes. Now, okay, that's fine. This is something that could probably be rectified pretty easily, right? Well, if it had stayed in the world of sports, yes. However, Italy, from a geopolitical perspective, is one of the most strident defenders of Ukraine in their battle of land reclamation and survival against Russia. So to have the person who's in the top coaching job in their country, manager of the Italian national team, doing business with the Russians would be a political black eye for the nation, not just from a sporting side. It was suddenly a position that was completely untenable for Andrea Pirlo. There was no way out of it. Not just that, but the promise of two big fish potentially in Guardiola and Carlo Ancelotti vaporizing in front of the Federation now meant that internally there were people who had their knives out for Maldini and Leonardo saying essentially, you can't catch the big fish. Why should we keep these guys around? What are they going to do? Once you have that knife fight going, it's very hard to recover from. Maldini knew this. Leonardo knew this. And also the control that Maldini had been promised to come in and be the technical director was now being robbed from him yet again. Just like with the Milan job. Immediately, Maldini and Leonardo send off their resignation notices, and now Italy is back at square one. So now what do we have? Just like we have always with Italy. Everything is new. Nothing has changed. The old guard are still in charge of the Federation, and they are going to be bringing in safe names like Roberto Mancini and Antonio Conte. Why? Because they're only concerned about getting Italy qualified, not just for the Euros, but also for potentially a 2030 World Cup run. Can they do it? I doubt it. I don't know if anybody can save the Italian Federation right now. And I have to give appropriate blame where appropriate blame is due. I love Paolo Maldini. He is a Milan legend. He is somebody that I looked up to personally, professionally, the way he conducted himself on the pitch, the way he conducted himself off the pitch, 100% above board. However, they have learned an important lesson, and I hope that every manager, future manager, somebody who is going to be doing any deal at any level of any business going forward, keeps this in mind. Always do your due diligence, no matter what. It is clear that if Maldini and Leonardo had done their due diligence when appointing their friend, their friend, Andrea Pirlo, to the management job for the Italian national team, and had they done their due diligence on his sponsorship dollars, they would know that the Russian betting company could potentially be a black eye. Clearly, somebody told him, hey, don't worry about this, if they told them at all, because they chose to overlook it and move ahead. That is on Maldini, that is on Leonardo, and that is on Pirlo. They only focused on the sports side without understanding the fact that the whole world that says keep it the sports, right? Let's just keep it sports. Let's just keep it on the field. I'm sorry, friends. Politics plays a role, especially when your country is one of the most strident defenders of Ukraine. And that is something that a lot of politicians in Italy have built their reputation on. That is not something they're going to overlook easily. So with love and respect to Maldini and Leonardo, I'm sorry, boys, this is just as much on you. So I hope that you've been able to stick through the sort of peeling back of this onion. There's a lot that goes into this. I don't see any of this clearing up anytime soon. It's going to be a soap opera. If you love drama, keep tuning in. If you enjoy mess, like what is it Marie Kondo said, I love mess. Yes, then by all means keep tuning in. I will keep tuning in because this is my team. It's the first team that I supported, the first team that ever made me cry, the first team that made me just unbelievably euphoric, the Italian national team. I am not going anywhere, and anybody who tells you they're an Italian national team fan right now, baby, believe them, because I promise you we've earned it, and we're going to keep earning it going forward. However, in this particular case, as the Prince and Romeo and Juliet said, all are punished, including us fans. It's Nick Leafy, Soccer Down Here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate your time. Jason, it's back to you.
And all of us. So there's Nick. Yeah, so Nick is kind of warning us about the future of Italy here. And I can't say the man is off in his assessment. So right now, like I said, as of this moment, like I said, we're still. So you have Malago announcing it's Mancini, James Horncastle et al. From The Athletic. Mancini, Ranieri coming back. You know they backed up the Brinks truck to Mancini. You know they did. So Ranieri is the new technical director. Mancini, the new head coach. So everything old is new again. Everything old is new again. And you saw or you heard the displeasure of the garlic bread warlord in this particular case. No real surprise. But obviously we'll keep an eye on that. And Nick is not optimistic about 2030. He's not. And I think it was one of those points that he made early on as a part of this discussion that you want to bring in it's like, where's all the youth development? Well, they kicked the youth development to the curb. Instead of playing younger players, the ones that you develop in your system, you've decided that, we're going to keep we're going to bring in the older guys, and then it's just going to kind of go. Pfft. Nick's not optimistic. Doesn't matter who's in charge. Doesn't matter who the technical director is until you figure out that having younger players a part of this discussion, so you have a pipeline, until you realize that that's okay, then things ain't going to change. Doesn't matter how much money you throw at the problem. Does not matter how much money you throw at the problem. That you're going to have these things happening with those folks in charge. Until you figure out that the idea is, I don't know, we got some good young players, instead of kicking them out to Serie C where they have to deal with a knife fight in a phone booth every week, and they don't grow, and they don't get the opportunities that they deserve for a national team. berth or a tryout even, you're going to have these things happen. So now you can understand why Nick is not optimistic. So yes, it looks like Mancini and Ranieri, according to Malago, and the new era / old era for Italian football begins / continues. Things are calmer in France. Things are calmer in France. Italy, yeah, we're going to throw money at a problem. All right. Last night, part of the festivities in the week or the half week up in Charlotte, last night at Matthews, it was an opportunity to hear and see the next wave of folks in MLS Next. All-Star Game, All-Eastern Conference, A.J. Ricketts, Jalil Anibaba on the call. Here's your highlights, or at least most of them, because most of the goals got scored in the first half.
Shot ripped and it's through. Oscar Aviles starts the scoring early for the East. 1-0, and the goal coming from the DC United man. What a start here offensively, Jalil. A confident move on the ball. Oh, good takeaway in the attacking third. Now played all the way through. It's a 1v1 chance here. Towards goal and through. Jamil Danjaji makes it 2-0 in the blink of an eye. He is the star striker from Columbus, and he's on the score sheet here in Charlotte. Nashville man, Stribling's got some space here. Stribling puts it through. How good is that? The East is on an early route. It's 3-0. Bit of a nightmare right now from the West perspective of the East. Scoring goals in bunches. Everybody getting in on the action now. Clipped in. Watch out there. Oh, it's 4-0. Beautifully done by the East. 4-0. Singleton from a foot out. West, constant defending. Stribling looks to settle. Difficult angle, clips it across. Chested down, laid back. How good is that? Aviles has another.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow, AJ. This is exactly what we like to see here.
And they saw a lot of it. 6-1 your final. Representing Atlanta United, it was Daniel Ilovbare and Zaid Vakiesi. And it was a brace by Stribling from Nashville. And Liam Stribling is getting a lot of looks in the U16s for the national team. And Oscar Aviles also got a brace as well. So 6 on the board for the East. They knocked off the West 6-1, 5-0 early, 6-1 final. Just to give you an idea as to the number and some of the bigger names that were attached. It was Jordan Melia, the head coach of the Charlotte FC U18s. He was head coach of the East. West was coached by Seattle Sounders U15 head coach Ethan O'Neill, U16 head coach Matt Dorman. So on the East, it was David Ilovbare, Zaid Vakiesi, Daniel Brown, who got some quality minutes in the first half. Ilovbare got his appearance in the second half. It was Jamil Danjaji from Crew. He was given the captain's armband, and understandably so, with his goal that he scored in the first half. We mentioned Marcellus Singleton. Also, Levi Williams from Messi and Friends. Liam Stribling got his brace, and it was on the west side. It was Grayson Kodjo from Colorado. You had Alessio Benedetti and Jaden Paz for LA Galaxy. Abraham Prado, Benjamin Faya from LAFC. You had Basil Kaprizov and Christopher Batiste from Seattle. And you had a lot of players from a lot of different teams that were represented. You did have some representation from outside MLS. You had Amadou Han from Cedar Stars Academy. You had, Marcellus Singleton from the Bronx Metropolitan Oval. You also had Ezra Van Cleve from the Barca Residency Academy out in Arizona. And so Total Football Academy's Daniel Carmona as well. A lot of these are 2010s. You had a few 2009s. and you had a few 2011s, but a lot of this was the 2010 showcase, and it was a big win for the East last night, and it was 6-1 your final. Oscar Aviles named the game's MVP, and it was Aviles, Danjaji, Stribling, Singleton, Aviles. So it was 5-0 at the half. And then Daniel Brown from Charlotte scored in the 78th. Easton Wilson scored in the 82nd for your goal for the West. And so that was your rundown of the MLS Next activity from yesterday. Then over the weekend, it was an opportunity for Atlanta United 2 to kind of kick the tires on their home away from their home that is back to being their home. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground from now on is going to be the home for the Twos for the remainder of the season. Keep an eye out because the next match is at 4 o'clock Friday afternoon against Carolina Core. So you can get tickets for free on Ticketmaster, and you have to adhere to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium rules for carry-ins when it comes to bags and such. So get your tickets at Ticketmaster, and you get to go and hang out and watch the Twos at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground. I think that there's going to be a shuttle that will take you from where parking is going to be assigned just down, I would imagine, down the street up to the training ground. So if you're going to go for the remaining handful of home matches this year, I think it's 5 home matches that are left, budget yourself a little bit of time, because you're going to be parking off-site, and then you're going to be working your way onto the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Ground and then over to field number 3, which is where it's going to be. Last time out, it was kind of a game that was crazy for Atlanta United 2. In control early, and then had to kind of fight to work their way through. Here's the highlights of the Twos win with NYCFC 2. Maddie on the call, courtesy of us.
Atlanta in possession, Chica sends it up onto the right. That ball falls to Suarez. Corey driving into the 18. Suarez Corey just loses it as it's cleared out by NYC, but it's picked up by Gill in Atlanta's attacking half. Jardines out to the left to Majub. Ignacio Suarez Corey on the right finds Dovolo. Dovolo on the right flank. He'll pull it back. Finds Jardines. Jardines floats this through looking for Kovac. Kovac in the back of the net! That play starts with Andrew Jardines. He's able to intercept it. He looks up, sees that Arif Kovac is right in the 18. He just floats that ball. It curls right into his path. And with the one touch into the back of the net, Arif Kovac finds the opener for Atlanta United 2 here in the 12th minute. So you say back to Gill. Jardines, that pass intercepted, but Jardines is able to win it back. Jardines carrying it forward now, skips through. Jardines skipping through everybody. He finds Gill. Gill plays it through to Kovac. Kovac, long range shot. There's the second for the Twos. A brilliant team goal from Atlanta United to the buildup of it. Able to sneak through. Jardines is able to find Gill, and then Gill with the through ball finds Kovac, and Kovac just with a class finish. He finds a second of the night. There's the brace for him. His total's now up to 15 goals this season, and the Twos have the 2-0 lead. That's Gill's first assist as well of the season for the Twos. But that's the style, especially with what Jose Silva has done this season for this side. It was the patience that they showed, especially in the build-up for it. You saw it a lot in the first, you're seeing it in the second, but the patience in having the ball, being comfortable with the ball, and being able to hold on to it and pick the right moment to go. It's going to be Majub. We'll send it back to Chica. Brought down. Dovolo on the left, on the right. Brown to Chica. Chica sends it back to Donaldson in the 18. Donaldson quickly sends this up. It's headed down by NYC. Jardines is... It falls back down Majub. It's still loose right at the top of the 18 for NYC. They'll try the shot. It's blocked. Now carrying it forward is Torres. Torres out to the left to Chica. To Chongqui. Chongqui up. Looks for Butts. Butts trying to circle around. He's going to be able to get there. Butts back to Dunbar. Dunbar on the left, into the 18, cuts back around, cuts back the other way. Dunbar still holding on to it, plays it through for Liam Butts, and there's the third! It's played up to connect on to the left. As Liam Butts is able to collect it, he's able to turn, he finds Dunbar. Dunbar drives into the 18, cuts one way, cuts back the other direction. He's able to find the cross, connects to Liam Butts, and Butts is able to slot it home right at the top of the goal. 3-1, Atlanta United 2.
And then that would end up at 3-2. So the back and forth match that was there with Atlanta United 2 and NYCFC 2, the Pigeons. And so with that win, Atlanta United 2 works their way in the standings up to 6th place in the East. And it is very, very tight, just to give you an idea. We'll hear from Jose Silva coming up in a second, but just to let you know, it's back and forth up top. Crown Legacy at 40 points. Crew at 39 points. Chattanooga FC at 37. Revs 2 at 36. OCB at 35. Atlanta United 2 at 33 at 10-6-3 right now in the season. Red Bulls at 32. Connecticut United at 31. Chicago Fire at 30. So literally you have 6 points separating 4th through 9th. And Atlanta is 7 points out of 1st. So the twos are right now in the heat of it. They can't really look behind them because folks are closing distance that way too. NYCFC 2, Huntsville City, both at 28 points. NYCFC have more wins. Philadelphia Union 2's at 26. TFC 2's at 25. Coors at 21 at 4-10-7-2. FC Cincinnati 2's at 16 points. And Inter Miami CF2 1-13-4-1. 16 goals scored in 18 matches, 46 goals allowed, 0-9-2 on the road this year. After the match, caught up with Jose Silva to get his thoughts on what was going on in a crazy match that kind of had 2 separate parts to it. Here's part of the conversation we had with Jose Silva.
I think till their first goal, it was a really good performance. I think we show our identity. It's true that we have a cup. Today was difficult to take the ball from them. It's a thing that they are really good in the field, and we were having like momentums where they were getting out, and we were in situation that they could have danger situations. So we decided like go more to man and lead the keeper with the ball. And the second half, I think when they score, I mean we scored the second one, we were like, everything is done, we're going to have a good day, and suddenly that goal that we give them, it created like a momentum for them, and they were like for 15 plus the 7 minutes from extra time all over us.
One of the things that stood out to me was the character of your group, because I looked at Gil and Hardinas, both made mistakes at times, but both also fought through them and tried to help the team. Just talk about your team's personality.
I think it's a really, this year is a really good group of people that they have like solidarity, and that is the main thing that you can have in a group, because if you have that, you can have like a really strong group. And when you see moments like today where we were suffering, Andrew was cramping and we have a player down, they want to give that extra effort for that guy just for the same objective that is get the 3 points.
I go back to 5 starters in this group, arrived home probably after 3 a.m. and gave you a huge performance. What does that say about those 5 guys who were with the group?
Again, it's the solidarity that they have for the group to give everything that they have inside of them to help the team to get closer to the 3 points. And today, the 5 guys, it's true that they're right late yesterday, and we were like trying to manage how they feel on the field. That's the reason some of them get sub out. But the moment that they step in the field, they show that solidarity to work for the group and get the 3 points.
Jose Silva, manager of the head coach for Atlanta United 2. And once again, full points for the twos on a bit of a back and forth. Once again, they had the big lead. NYCFC 2 comes back, and then the back and forth continues. Atlanta United 2 gets the 3-1 lead, 3-2 final as they get ready for core on Friday afternoon at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. After the match, also caught up with Adrian Gill in the midfield. His thoughts about what's going on and his relationship with Andrew Hardinas.
I think we dominated the first half. I think we had the ball, good possession. Arish scored the first goal, and I think we dominated. Second half, we came out dominating 2-0. Second goal, got an assist to Arif, and then I think just overconfidence. People were getting tired, and we started making small mistakes, but we ended up clutching it out, so that was good. You and Andrew have turned into quite a duo. Mm-hmm. Just talk about what he does to complement you. How you guys fit together? He understands that like we're pretty mobile center mid. So if I'm going to the right, he goes to the left. If I'm going to the left, he's going to the right. We're just moving off each other, 1-2 touches. So it's nice playing with him.
I think something that stood out to me, and I talked to Jose about it, in a team that's going to have a lot of the ball, you're never going to be 100% with passing, and mistakes happen, and it's part of the game. But I thought both of you guys consistently, when a mistake would happen, you stayed connected, you fought to fix it and to get back into the game. How do you keep that mindset in those moments?
I can't speak for Andrew, but I'm guessing it's pretty similar. For me, it's just like it's kind of almost an ego thing. Like I lose the ball, I need to get the ball back. And I don't let one mistake bring me down or bring my mental down in the game. So if I make a mistake or anything like that, just do something the next play that's better than the mistake.
Adrian Gill, and his work in the midfield helps out with the twos, and he was one of those three players that got maybe a nap in coming back from New England, getting ready for everything that is up and running for Atlanta United 2 that afternoon. So literally it was an 11 a.m. kick, and they got home around 3. So they might have gotten a nap in, then had to come back to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. And then they're forced into, and they're in the starting lineup for the twos. And so Toto Majoub was another one of those. And so here's the conversation that we had with Toto Majoub after the match in the 3-2 win for the twos.
It was difficult for us, like at the end of the game, at the end of the second half. The halftime was really good for us, but we couldn't do enough in the second half. That's why we had to concede like goals. Yeah, but we couldn't give up, and we keep pushing, and we got the 3 points, and that's what is very important for us.
Yeah. I thought it was a win that showed a lot of character and a lot of personality, because it was difficult. New York's a very good team, and you guys were tired. I mean, you had a long trip. I know how that goes. How do you, as a group, fight through those moments where it's hard?
We know, like, Jose Silva told us in the locker room when halftime was done. He just told us that we should go for it, because we can't sit down and defend, because they're a good team. We respect them. Yeah, they're a good team. But we had to like be together as a team. We had to work hard and try to push, and yeah, that's how we got the 3 points.
You and Cisse and Chica had a lot to do, a lot of ground to cover at times. Sometimes it looked like it was a line of 4, sometimes it looked like a line of 5. How did the defensive group stay in sync in those moments where the game kind of changed?
It was for sure. It was really difficult for us, of us, because they were really like attacking us a lot. So we had to do a lot. You have to cover, you have to step. So it was difficult. It was just like up and down. But we have to keep in the game. Yeah, because we needed it so much.
Toto Majoub after the 3-2 win for Atlanta United 2. Once again, 6th in the East. And I know that if you were to look at, if you were to ask Jose Silva, he knows that there have been points that have been left on the table this year. 3 teams in the Eastern Conference with 10 wins. Crown Legacy, Crew, Atlanta United 2. Most wins in program history. 10-6-3. They have not gone to the penalty kick shootout at all this year. So it's either been one or the other. It's been a win, a loss, or it's been a win or a loss. That's it. Sorry, they have 3 draws. Sorry, that's my bad. So they've lost all 3 times that they went into the shootout. So 10-6-3, 3 draws. They're 0 for 3 in shootouts this year, and so they have none of those extra points. But Jose Silva would say that if you were to catch up with them, that they've left points on the table this year. But right now, they're right in the middle of it, and they have a match in hand on 3 teams above them in the standings. So if they take care of business this weekend, temporarily until they have a midweek weekend situation, they would once again be at 11 wins, and they would be in 4th pending the results of everything going on around them. But you take care of business with that one game in hand, that one match in hand, you're at 36 points, you're 4th. But I can tell you right now, Jose Silva will be the first to tell you that they've left points on the table this year for the twos. All right. Time to catch up on CONCACAF a little bit. Tonight, this afternoon and tonight, it is the U20s. 5 o'clock this afternoon, Haiti and Cuba are going to have their day in the sun. 10 o'clock tonight, El Salvador and the United States. And so that's the two matchups today. Is we're in the group stage for the U20s. U.S. It's 3 groups, 12 teams total. Group A is the U.S., Cuba, El Salvador, and Haiti. Group B, Mexico, Guatemala, Costa Rica, and Antigua and Barbuda. Group C, Canada, Jamaica, Honduras, and Panama. And so we start the second day of match day 2s with Group A, with activity involving Haiti, Cuba, El Salvador, and the U.S. And we saw it in the World Cup, and we're also seeing it in the U20s, where Haiti as a nation continues to persevere on the athletic stage with everything going on around them back home. In the World Cup, it was literally they had no home stadium. They were in Curacao. They were in neighboring islands. They were trying to qualify, and they were doing it in their homes away from home. And what I wanted to do this morning was kind of remind us and introduce us to stuff that we may not know or might have just remembered about this whole thing, and understand about Haiti and their struggles and persevering through all of this. And to help us with that, we go back to Morehouse and catch up with our friend Dr. Howard Jean-Denis, and we find out what's going on. Wow, look at you with all the artwork, man. You're like in a different studio space with us this morning.
That's my wife's artwork. I do a little bit, but she's better than me.
Hey, look, it's when the boss wants stuff that is hung, you sit there and you go, yes, ma'am. That is absolutely how this goes. First off, I can't thank you enough, because there are opportunities where we get to learn about other cultures, other diaspora, and the struggles that are attached, and then put it into a sports prism. And we got to see firsthand in the World Cup, and we're also seeing it with the U20s that are going on tonight. Actually, you have the 5 o'clock game today in the U20s, where in CONCACAF, where the Haitian national team, the under 20s, are playing in group stage, and they're going up in they're in the group with the United States. We saw it in the World Cup. We got to see it firsthand here at Atlanta Stadium when it was Morocco and Haiti, and it was one of the most tremendous environments that we got to witness and be a part of when it comes to seeing what's going on. For those that may not know, let everybody know your background and your expertise in this, so everybody knows where you're coming from.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, and thank you so much for having me once again. So to talk a little bit about my background, so I'm 100% Haitian. My mom is from the capital, from Port-au-Prince, from this little area called Pétionville, and my dad is from Ukai, which is in the southwestern portion of the island. Upon us immigrating to the United States, we were all well educated. My parents believed in this concept called l'école, l'église, l'écaille, and it was about being at home, going to church, going to school. And so I was in Boston, went to really good schools, worked hard, and now I have a PhD in business. And so some of my academic research focuses directly on the African diaspora, specifically in South Africa and Haiti. So last year, this year, I published some really strong papers on the Haitian spirit. So things like Kombi and Lakou. And I'm mentioning all that because in order to do that, I had to stay immersed in our culture, do interviews, connect with family members, travel to Haiti. And so the World Cup is just a recent iteration of being Haitian. I'm Haitian 100% of the time, also living in America. So I have this American side, but I also have this pride in where my family's from.
When you had to go back home to do part of your research, I don't think many of us who are here in the United States understand how dangerous and threatening life is on a daily basis in Haiti. So for those of us that are shielded here, how dangerous is it now?
It depends on what city you're in, and most people say that who go to Haiti frequently. So if we're talking about the capital, we're talking about some of the more populous cities. Yes, it can be rather dangerous because of the gangs, as most people know, because of the roads being very dilapidated, and lack of electricity in certain parts of the city. If you go outside of the capital, places like Okap, Cap Haitien, was where we once had a king from 1804 to 1820. It's beautiful. Not to say Port-au-Prince is not beautiful, but it's relatively safe. You can fly into Cap Haitien, Okap. There's an airport there, and it's peaceful. There's lots of entrepreneurs. Same thing with Jacmel, which is towards the south. And so, in terms of my experiences, and this is not unlike some of the players who played on the national team. Like you talking about U20 and national team. A lot of them were born to Haitian parents, but born in other countries like France or the United States, like myself. And so, going back to Haiti, it's like a visceral experience, a visceral reaction because you're so excited to feel the music, eat the food, see your people. But because you're not as familiar with certain parts, depending on how many times you go, you have to be on guard. You have to be a little bit cautious because right now it's a little worse than it was before. But right now, there are certain parts of the country that are on lockdown, where if you don't have somebody who lives there 365 days a year, you probably shouldn't go there because you could get kidnapped. But at other times, like a year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, you can go more freely and have do more activities.
And you're also dealing with Mother Nature and having to fight through hurricanes. So if you have these parts of the nation that are dealing with just basic necessities, then you have hurricanes come through and then infrastructure gets challenged all over again. And then you're having to go back to absolute zero to try to rebuild from there.
Yes, and we've been working on trying to change that, but as we know that if the country's on a certain tectonic plate, you can't really change that. The only thing you can do is disaster-proof the buildings and the materials. And so, since the 2010 earthquake, there's been a lot of construction workers that I'm familiar with who've tried to build the infrastructure so that it's resistant. But you're right. If there's a hurricane or a tornado, it's very, very difficult for your building to stay intact because of how densely packed some of the cities are. And so if this happens in Los Angeles and Atlanta and in New York and Paris, the recovery time is much, much shorter. And so that's also a concern. I agree. And that's one of the reasons why the national team hasn't been able to play and practice as much in Haiti. And so as I watch with admiration, the Spanish team, they have this tika-taka style. They're so well knit, and they get to practice there, right? And a lot of other nations have that. Whereas, as you mentioned earlier, we had to practice in Curacao and other places, so we couldn't, build camaraderie in Haiti.
How difficult is it for just basic contact and getting back in touch with everyone back on the island? I mean, to have normal communication and just understand, hey, checking in on you, how things are, how when it comes to just keeping track of folks because of the gangs, because of all of the issues, and because of the infrastructure, how difficult is normal communication?
Well, once again, depending on where you're at, it can be very difficult to relatively easy.
Right.
And so I mentioned 2 cities. I can mention some more. But in certain cities, the infrastructure is strong. There's access to ports. There's access to strong electricity and so forth. And so in those areas, and I can keep mentioning Cap Haitien because a lot of us talk about that being a great place to go to. It's great. It's normal. But in other areas, as you're alluding to, because of and the national election is a big issue. So because Haiti has had a lot of political instability, our last elected president was assassinated, as some know. So we don't have official duly elected president now. There's been a lack of investment in this infrastructure. And so the internet connectivity is really weak in certain places. And so if your family member is in a certain place, you have to use WhatsApp, and WhatsApp does work pretty well. So
okay. When it comes to, you mentioned the government structure or lack thereof right now. When it comes to just kind of understanding how things are, when you go back, how would you best describe how things are because you don't have a duly elected president, because I imagine you have a voting populace that wants to exercise their rights to vote. What's it like to have to kind of go up against that and go up against that wall all the time, where you're having issues because of gangs and lack of actual elections and things like that? The political structure. When you look at it, what sticks in your head about it these days?
Well, I think it feels like a perpetual state of survival, a survival mode, where dealing with certain individuals that are very difficult to persuade, to push to do the right thing, to pass a certain initiative that's going to help their local populace. And so people, the citizens will work around that. They'll figure out ways to commune, to collaborate, to build what they need to build. But it's always in a survival, in a suboptimal state. And so once again, there are some things that we make 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and then one step back and 3 steps forward in certain areas. And so there's a strong possibility that there's going to be a election at the end of this year to the beginning of next year. And so the individuals who are part of the task force, we have a task force now there's a prime minister in the task force that's ruling Haiti right now, not a president. And so he's the de facto president, the current leader now. Once we have someone who's duly elected, we feel like a lot of these things will be much, much easier, because we've seen in different places that once we have the resources, the opportunities, the support, Haitians thrive just like any other human being. But right now it is difficult for that reason. Yes.
How does sport play into all of this as a part of the fabric and appreciation for what Haitians can do to persevere through all of this?
I would say that, like most humans, we like entertainment, we like spectacle. I've been all around the world, to pretty much every continent except for Antarctica, and the Haitians, we want to have symbols of ourselves that are excellent. So Naomi Grand-Pierre, she won an Olympic gold medal. We got Jimmy Jean-Louis, the famous actor, Wyclef Jean. The former president of Harvard was also a Haitian American. But with respect to sport, I remember during the World Cup, the third game where we scored 2 goals against Morocco.
Yep.
And there were fantastic goals, particularly the second one, Isidore.
Oh,
and
dang.
I was like, we're gonna win. It felt so good. So to me, I just want to snapshot that very specific moment after Isidore. So Joseph's goal was amazing, even though they called it an own goal by Bounou, the Moroccan keeper.
Right.
But when Isidore scored, we were up, I think, 2-1 at that point. And that feeling is what you're describing right now, is the feeling that we can be excellent. We deserve excellence, not just making it by or losing. And I think sport provides that the entry point, that door for Haitians to be excellent in education and medicine and whatever we aim to be. So we expect to be here in the World Cup in 2030, and we're working on that right now, as you know.
No doubt. So what was it like for you to see the diaspora show up as much as they did here for that Morocco match? Because the building was 50-50. I mean, you had 68,000 people downtown, and it was 50-50, and it was loud, and it was a party. What was it like? Did that surprise you that many folks showed up for a match that, while it meant nothing in the standings, it was the last match that was going to be there? What was that like to see?
It was amazing. It's I guess it's like you pinch yourself, you think, wow, is this really happening? Because your elders, in the Haitian culture, we call them Grand Moon, like the elders, the ancestors, the older people. They remind us that our last appearance was 52 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And so this may be the only time, depending on how we do, if you don't do well, that we'll ever see Haitians in this spotlight. And so that in that moment, I had lots of friends, I had colleagues, I had my wife and kids. I had my one of my cousins flew in from DC, and he went to the match. And then I had a dean at Morehouse who's also Haitian. She was at the match. She was sending pictures, and we were at the watch party in Decatur. And then it was a moment of solidarity where we were like, it's almost like waiting for a presidential election when your candidate is winning or losing, and you're like, oh, you're on pins and needles. It felt really good because we felt seen, we felt excited, we felt hopeful, and we're not done. We're just getting started.
There was a bit of a discussion back and forth with the organizers of the tournament early on, where there was supposed to be a representation of a famous battle on the jersey. And because apparently it was interpreted as something involving war or whatever the wording was, that had to be removed. And the Haitians had to kind of get jerseys made on the hop that didn't have that stuff on it. It was a representation of a battle that was the year before independence, but there really isn't any kind of actual photograph. There isn't any kind of actual artwork or anything to it. It was a representation of a moment of how we imagined it to be, if you were Haitian, and they had to remove that off of the jersey. I get it on one front, but also for an imaginary interpretation of a moment, I'm like, come on, man. That kind of was like, really this close to the beginning of the tournament. Then you want to say something about it, and everybody's got to fix their jerseys like at the last. For those that don't know, what was that battle? I think it was in 1803, the year before. I think it was the Vertier, if I'm not mistaken, something in there. That battle was what was represented on the jersey. Can you help me out there?
Yes. So you have a really good point with that. I think it was actually the second time that the Haitians were penalized for having a jersey infraction. But to clarify what you said just now, it's about a Vertier. So it was 1803, the year before we won independence against the French in 1804. And I disagree with that decision.
Yeah.
I also disagree with and I'll explain why. I also disagree with the previous decision in 2026, where we were going to have, I think it was Toussaint Louverture. It was one of our founding fathers was supposed to be on the jersey as well. And so both reasons saying we didn't want political symbols on the jerseys.
Yes.
And so we looked at nations like that, but it came down twice in 1 year. And so I have a long-winded answer with this, but this is a really good question.
We got time, and we got time. It's all good.
So it doesn't, in my opinion, and somewhat subjective, it doesn't specifically denigrate another culture, another population. It's not racist. It's not misogynistic. It doesn't glorify the battle. It just glorifies a successful story in one nation's history. And so that battle was key to us winning independence. It was, in fact, most people who understand political history, world history, they know that Haitians were the first and the only successful slave revolution, enslaved people, the first one. So Simón Bolívar, the famous Latin liberator in Latin America, came to Haiti in 1815, I believe, to study us. And then he liberated many Latin countries after that. And the African American and the Americans also learned in 1865, 61 years later, what we did in 1803 and 1804. So the domino effects, the ripple effects, it reverberated around the entire world, what we did. And Toussaint Louverture and Dessalines, they all represented somebody and a group of people who believed in themselves and who believed that they are worthy, they're dignified. And so I think that that's the type of thing that should go on a jersey, because you see these things in multiple other countries. Small symbols, they're not racist and not sexist. They're just saying this is what we did in the past. The second thing I'll say, I'm going to bring in because I want to talk a little bit about that first game. The very first game was Scotland, Haiti, and Scotland won 1-0. Scotland has a good team. Haiti has a good team. There were a number of questionable yellow cards, fouls in that card. I think there was lots of articles about that.
Right.
And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I was looking at the facial expressions of the Haitian team in that first game. That was a winnable game. Brazil game, no, they proved to be better than us in that moment. And Morocco game was what it was. I felt like some of those questionable non-penalty calls and non-yellow cards led to a lack of motivation in that game.
Yeah.
That is similar to us not being able to wear the battle of Vertier or even Louverture in our jersey. It was a very small dig that was unnecessary. That didn't mean that we didn't make it to the knockout stage. No, I think it really is about the talent level and coaching and corruption, stuff like that. I think other things were significant factors. but I felt that there was some unfair treatment of the team, and that's why I brought in the other example.
No, that's all good. No, it's that's what we're here for, is a part of the education of all of this. Dr. Howard Jean-Denis from Morehouse hanging out with us for the education of the FHF this morning. And like I said, when we had our previous conversations about UBPI last week and everything that's going on there at Morehouse and at Notre Dame and everything, I was like, when we were discussing this and you opened that door, I'm like, yeah, we gotta come back and discuss all of this stuff. When it comes to the Haitian people, the diaspora, where they are here, in the suburbs here in Atlanta, in Massachusetts, where you have Haitians, you have Cabo Verdeans. I think it's the largest concentration of Cabo Verdeans off of the African continent, is I think like in Brockton, Mass, and the suburbs of Boston.
That's correct. That's correct.
And I'm trying to figure out the proper way to phrase this. How can we improve our understanding of the Haitian people and where they are coming from on a daily basis, so we can better understand them, whether it's through sport as our prism or just on a daily basis? How can we better understand what Haiti is going through, and how can we best be there to help support them and help them with what they're going through?
Education is a short answer. Proper, appropriate marketing. I think historically, some countries have had a lot of stigmatized marketing and educational units in classrooms where it's focused on losses and failures and lack of stability, as Chinamana Adichie called the single story. So you wrap down what is the entire story of a person or a community or a culture into one single story. And I think for Haitians, like other cultures, there should be a wider lens in terms of who Haitians are. And so in my experiences as an educator, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, I've tried to help people to have very open minds about why do people believe what they do, why do they behave they do, what have they experienced prior to this current engagement you have with them. And I think that a lot of people have been receptive to teaching a lot more about the religion, the spirituality, some of the colonial things that have happened in the past have led to the current behaviors now. And also when it comes to, like you mentioned, sport, and we can bring in some other countries as well. Like when we talk about France or England had an amazing tournament. France had an amazing tournament. Half of those teams are of African descent, right? But they chose to play for France and play for England. And I think that's their choice. It was the right choice because they wanted to do that choice. However, when I mentioned colonial just now, I think there should be more discussion about how and why and when these countries like Cameroon, where Mbappe is from, or I can name a lot of other players, but I won't go down that route. But I'll say that the full picture means learning more about what's going on in the country, how does that affect behavior, how does that affect migration patterns, and showing the full picture will allow people to humanize others. So, for example, when Christians talk about Muslims, they then have a single story. Same thing when Muslims talk about Christians, when white versus black, women versus men. I think the full story requires patience. As for Haitian people, I think that it's the same thing as other cultures and other walks of life. It just takes more patience learning the full story. So, for example, I'm introducing some of the listeners to some of these things right now for a reason. I imagine that some are not familiar with some of the things I'm talking about, like the fact that we had a king. At one point, Haiti had a king from 1804 to 1820. And that king was one of the motivating factors in Black Panther, the famous movie that's had multiple iterations. And he was a liberating king. He built monuments, he built castles, he had a code that was admired in France and in London. And so these are some of the things that if you know some of the Haitians that you interact with, some of us are very proud, some of us are very organized, very intellectual. And that's because of some of the things that are in our culture.
Full disclosure, as a part of my extensive jersey collection,
yeah,
I do have the Haiti jersey with the battle on the side.
You do?
I do. Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely, I do.
Where'd you get it from?
It was one of these shops that actually, and I was racing because when I heard the decision, during the tournament, I was like, I got to jump on this. And so it was through a distributor that, still had them up. And I was like, yeah, I've got to jump on that. And so I did. And, so yeah, when I was like, oh, I've got to have that. And so that was, that's one of the ones that I have. So, yeah, trust me, that was a slam dunk. That was an easy choice. I cannot thank you enough for this. There are times where I think we need to understand where we're all coming from. So we can all be better and we can all, walk the same path, knowing what's going on with that person next to us. And I don't think a lot of times there are a lot of times where we don't get those opportunities to understand where that person next to us is coming from. And so that was why I wanted to reach out and have this conversation so folks could understand what they might have seen in the matchup, against Morocco, but they might have seen in group stage, what they're seeing in the U20s later today. I think it's going to be on FS2. And so just to kind of, through that sports prism, understand where folks are coming from. And that was why I wanted to have you back to kind of break everything down from a Haitian perspective. I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, and the feeling is mutual. Thank you so much for allowing me to come back again. I do listen to your show. I think you do some great work. And for all the listeners, keep tuning in. I enjoy watching teams all around the world, not just the Haitian team. And sport is an amazing unifying medium where we can kind of appreciate differences, similarities, quirks, and celebrate victory and struggle and persistence. So it's very fun stuff.
No doubt. And thanks for the education, whether it was Poli-Sci 101 or everything else that's going on. We will catch up with you soon, my friend. Don't be a stranger.
Absolutely.
There you go. There is Dr. Howard Jean-Denis from Morehouse. An education on the Haitian diaspora this morning, and I'm glad that we were able to circle back and have that discussion. All right, so checking in on the rest of the activity today. Once again, we mentioned 5 o'clock, we mentioned 10 o'clock, and that is going on in CONCACAF. So to get set up for round number 2 in group stage, let's go back and remember what happened in match day number 1, the 3-0 win against Haiti, courtesy of our friends at CONCACAF and FS2.
Mexico, the defending champs. Here come the U.S. breaking lines well to the edge of the area, and it's off the underside of the bar. Second ball is blocked. Thinking about shooting, Gusky clips it instead. Far side, open man, and they score! Klapia, who had clipped the underside of the bar about 15 minutes ago, buried it in the top corner this time. Left foot, it's a crucial block. It's still alive and blocked through again, and Bray is sprawling down. He makes the save. There were big shouts for a penalty from the U.S. It's not given by the referee. Yes. And they have summoned referee Michael Vene to the monitor. Actually hit him from that previous angle. It was tough to tell whether it actually hits the arm. I have to say, I don't think he's going to give a penalty for any of these. After VAR review, no penalty. So what a first half we had. Tons going on, just the one goal in it in the end. Involved on the left side as well. The second half back underway. Wanted it and got it, and his cutback is going to fall for Dylan Vanny. It's off the line. They shout for handball. It's going to be given. It's going to be a red card. Now up a man, up a goal. Ruben Ramos scores. Clear daylight, under the lights, in Puebla. 2-0 to the U.S. Return it. Now to the edge of the area, it's Klapia laying it along. Contreras with a big chance, and then Berchimas just overran the rebound. Berchimas trying to hunt this ball down as he presses, and now Contreras wins it back. Contreras stepping around the defender, going down. Penalty for the United States. Santi Morales, the hop skip. The same move he pulled against Club America earlier this year, and it works again, this time for the United States. Well, he grew up.
There you go. There's your 2 from the spot, 1 in open play. And the United States wins 3-0 in match day 1 in group. And so they get El Salvador tonight. Haiti and Cuba is at 5 o'clock, and El Salvador and the United States is at 10 o'clock. So you can catch that on the CONCACAFness, or you can catch it on FS2. And since we are there, What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. Brought to us by our friends at Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. That link is important. Helps you out, helps us out, helps them out for anything and everything that you need when it comes to checking out channels and streaming services and places that you might not have been able to watch matches until now. On Fanatis, you get Libertadores, you get Sudamericana, you get all the BNs, which means you get WAFCON, which is going on right now. We are efforting our friend Ali Howarth to break everything down in right now the group stage of WAFCON to let you know, give you your viewer's guide as you're keeping an eye on it there on all the BNs. Polish League is actually up and running. They had their opening match week this past weekend, so that is also on the BNs. Ligue 1 is on the BNs. Turkish League is on the BNs. We have Turkish League news coming up in a second, but you get everything North Africa, Middle East, North Africa, WAFCON, all the qualifiers, Champions League, all of that. That's available on Fanatis with the BNs. You get TSE out of Argentina, TVV out of Venezuela, CDO Plus out of Chile. You get, who am I missing here? Liga 1 Max Pro out of Peru. And all of that is in one place. Links to Tigo Sports and CATV as well. So that means with TSE, you also get Copa Argentina at fntz.co/soccer down here. Sudamericana tonight on BN. Tigre Nacional at 6, Santos and UCV at 8:30. FS2 has your U20s. Haiti and Cuba is at 5. USA and El Salvador is at 10. BN and Espanol is simulcasting Sudamericana. ESPN Plus has Champions League qualifiers. Hearts and Sturm Graz at 2:45. Fox Soccer Plus and on onesoccer.ca if you have that subscription. Cavalry and Supra, 9 o'clock tonight. They also have club friendlies on Paramount Plus. The CONCACAF Central American Cup is going on tonight. Hankook Verdes Motagua, Diriangen and Plaza Amador, and Olympia and Mixco. And then also tonight, ESPN Plus has the Northern Super League, AFC Toronto and Calgary Wild. That is at 7 o'clock. So tonight it is a mixture of CONCACAF and Central American Cup and Canadian Premier League and Champions League and everything Middle East and North Africa. WAFCON as well is on the BNs at Fanatis at fntz.co/soccer down here. Couple of news and notes that we have to get into this morning. And St. Louis City SC has added to their attack. We mentioned the news from Turkey. Danish midfielder Carlo Hulsa as a designated player, permanent transfer from Samsunspor, signed through 28-29 at club option for 29-30, occupying an international roster slot, added to the roster pending medical and receipt of the ITC and P1 visa. City acquired the discovery priority for Hulsa from Philadelphia in exchange for $150,000 in GAM in 26, $50,000 in 27, and a conditional $100,000 in GAM as well down the line. 3 seasons at Samsunspor, 114 appearances, 22 plus 14 in all comps. Most productive last season and European stage. So he had 2 goals and 5 assists in the Conference League for Samsunspor. Hulsa represented Denmark at every youth level from U16 to U21 before getting a senior national team debut in 25, appearing in a win over Lithuania. So Carlo Hulsa is now in St. Louis City SC to add to their attack. And so that is the news out of the Turkish League by way of St. Louis City. A couple of other things that came across in the news part of things. And this is from our friends at Doble Amarilla in Argentina. Headline, and this is never a good headline. Scandal in Brazil is how it starts. The CBF has opened an investigation against Lucho Acosta for alleged links to sports betting houses. Secondary headline. The Argentine player received a yellow card on July 17 in the match between Bragantino and Fluminense. Card is under scrutiny because it triggered an unusual volume of betting activity at the time of booking. Investigated by the Brazilian Football Federation, Confederation for alleged involvement in sports betting due to the yellow card he got at the end of the match against Bragantino on August 17. The betting house Stake reported an abnormal volume of bets on Acosta's suspension in the match corresponding to match day 19 of the Brasileiro and alerted Sport Radar, a company contracted by FIFA that monitors the Brazilian championship, according to GE Globo. Acosta got a yellow in the 47th of the second half. the start of a fight between players that lasted about 5 minutes and ended with 2 players being sent off and the Argentine, who had nothing to do with the confrontation, being cautioned near the end of the match. In his report, referee David de Oliveira Lacerda described the reason for Lucho Acosta's yellow card as being for, quote, acting in a manner that demonstrates a lack of respect for the game, for recklessly pushing his opponent out of play, end quote. Because of these irregularities, the CBF decided to launch an investigation against the Argentine, who denied being involved in sports betting. Following the start of the investigation, the Brazilian Tricolor reported on social media that it is, quote, aware of the case and assured that Acosta has denied any involvement in irregularities. Notification reached the club's board of directors last week, confidentially stated it is willing to cooperate with the relevant authorities. So keep an eye on Lucho Acosta and what's going on down there. All right, so Hulsa is in. Now let's check the gossip, rumor, and innuendo part of the discussion. We'll get you in to find out who might be going where and for what cost. What might be happening? We mentioned Zinedine Zidane. The Cabo Verde goal against Argentina by Sidney Lopez Cabral, voted goal of the tournament. And he has been reaching out on social media to anyone that he can try and find to thank them for all of the love that he's been getting for any and all of this. But yeah, it was in that craziness that was attached to the matchup that was absolutely insane in that matchup against Argentina. And so the Lopez Cabral shot was the equalizer at 2-2 from the near side, and it would go up and over. And I'm trying to see if I've got it. I thought I had it, but I might not. So, Cabo Verde 3-2. No, I do not have the Lopez Cabral goal, but I do have the 3-2 goal. I have the 3-2 goal, but I don't have the 2-2 goal. So, anyway, you sit there and it's like, yes, Lopez Cabral, you, sir, got the goal of the tournament. Absolutely you did. Although, one of my favorite bangers was this one. I forgot to play this one for Dr. Jean-Denis, courtesy of FIFA, their own selves, and Telemundo.
Se viene con todo. Providence. Centro. Balón dividido. La intentaba ganar Isidor. La recupera Haití. Isidor le pegó. ¡Golazo!
Festejen, griten, bailen, agárrense entre ustedes, todo el pueblo haitiano. La gran sorpresa de esta tercera fecha, de la fecha final de la fase de grupos.
And there you go. Well, if I could spell courtesy. So courtesy Telemundo Deportes, and I misspelled courtesy. So there you go. But yeah, the Lopez Cabral goal that tied it at 2, voted as goal of the tournament, as it damn well should. Nicely done, people. But yeah, he has been reaching out on social media trying to thank as many folks as humanly possible for that. The transfer talk has gotten really interesting in and around Vinicius Jr. Real Madrid have made a fresh push to ward off Arsenal's interest in him, according to Florian Plettenberg. They sent a new contract offer to Vinicius, hoping to reach an agreement that will see him remain at the Bernabeu. Arsenal reportedly ready to make an opening bid and have informed Vinicius' reps. Remember, he's only got a year left on his deal. Liverpool joined the race to sign Villa defender Ezri Konsa, according to Team Talk. Reported that Andoni Iraola is keen to add a center back, with their needs amplified following the injury to Joe Gomez. Minutes into the preseason friendly against Sunderland on Saturday, seen as an option to provide depth at right back, remains on the radar of Arsenal. PSG defender Ilya Zabarnyi is another option. Bayern Munich winger Luis Diaz on the radar of Al Hilal, according to L'Equipe. Saudi Pro League club reported to have prepared an offer worth around 70 million euro for the Colombian international, open to leaving Allianz to go in search of a new challenge. Diazem 29 is seen as, that's a misprint. The 29-year-old seen as the club's next priority after they landed Crescencio Somerville, Bundesliga champs reluctant to part ways. Juve discussing a move on Manchester United striker Joshua Zirkzee, according to the three-letter paper. Both clubs are said to be in advanced talks regarding an initial loan deal that would include an option to be made permanent at £30 million. 25-year-old midfielder identified by Juve as an alternative to Randall Colomawani, 2 goals in 24 appearances last year. Fenerbahce and Galatasaray, the two big guns, are battling to sign AC Milan winger Rafa Leao, according to Gianluca Di Marzio. Reportedly holding talks with both clubs in the coming days. Exploring a loan deal, Milan insisting on a permanent transfer. Rafa Leao contributed 2 goals in 5 games for Portugal at the World Cup, 2 years remaining on his deal. Karim Benzema refusing to leave Al Hilal unless his full salary is met from the remaining year of his deal, according to Mundo Deportivo. Club are believed to be looking to move the 38-year-old to free up a foreign player slot on the squad. Reported he's rejected several offers to switch to another team in Saudi Pro, scored 9 goals in 10 league matches last year after leaving Al Ittihad in February. Yan Diamante once again expected to complete the deal to Leipzig. 135 million euro, just under 154 million bucks. Fixed sum between 115 and 120 million euro. Leeds closing in on a deal for James Trafford, according to the 4-letter. Set to move to Ellen Road for an initial fee of £40 million after positive negotiations between the two clubs. City's going to look to sign a replacement if Trafford leaves. Barcelona have sounded out the possibility of signing Bournemouth striker Eli Junior Krupi, although Julian Alvarez remains their top target. John Stones in talks over a move to Inter Milan, free agent after leaving Manchester City, subject of interest from a number of Premier League clubs, including Chelsea. Understood Inter are leading the race. And Juve once again registering their interest in Joshua Zirkzee. Now, other rumors. Sky Italy. PSG and Juve interested in Parma and Japanese international goalkeeper Zion Suzuki. Marsa. PSG have no interest in Rodri, who has recently been linked with Real Madrid. Word came out from Manchester City this morning that he has come out of a minor back surgery and is recovering. Galatasaray striker Victor Osimhen wants to make a switch to the Premier League, according to Team Talk. Porto aren't considering an approach for Al Hilal striker Darwin Nunez, despite reports he's been linked with a potential move to Major League Soccer, according to Abola. We kind of know that. Gazeta, Besiktas losing patience with Dusan Vlahovic, who's yet to respond to their offer. Tuto Sport, Juve keen on Bayer Leverkusen attacking midfielder Karim Alibegovic, despite the competition from Chelsea. Ipswich interested in Fulham midfielder Sasha Lukic. That's from the East Anglian Daily Times. Mundo Deportivo, Newcastle, Brighton, and Villa keen on Sevilla winger Ruben Vargas. Plettenberg again. Villa remain in talks regarding a move for Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea. And HLN, not headline news, but HLN, Dortmund set to sign Genk attacking midfielder Kos Karetsis. Now, let's check in with our buddy Ben Jacobs, who has been incredibly busy this morning. So, Ben is saying the following. Let's see. Martin Ziegler an hour ago. FIFA's president Gianni Infantino planning to sell stakes in the World Cup to private investors under a scheme, but that's just the England word. Basically a plan, a business plan, that could potentially earn him tens of millions of pounds. Investor discussions held with figures close to folks in Washington, D.C. UEFA statement in response to the Ziegler article crosses a line that football's governing institutions should never cross, plus more. Ibrahim Sangare has signed a new deal at Forest until the summer of 29. Hannah Hampton signed a new 2-year deal with Chelsea. No contract or pen hovering over said contract, but just a smiling photo of her on a park bench or a picnic table. Manchester City confirming Josko Vardiol signing a new deal through the summer of 2031. West Brom confirming Nolan Galvis has joined on a 4-year deal. He's holding up a jersey. Ipswich confirming Shel Sherpen has joined from Royal Union Saint-Gilloise on a 4-year deal, 8.5 plus 2.5. He's holding up a jersey. Arsenal in advancing in talks for Bruno Guimaraes. Clubs are now in contact with weeks of denials. That is with Alex Crook and Ben Jacobs. Joao Pedro got a hattie in 8 minutes. Xabi Alonso had a 6-4 preseason win over Western Sydney. Also, Rodri, successful minor back surgery, will only need a short period of rehabilitation, end quote. Philip Jurgensen has left Chelsea's preseason tour as he looks to finalize a transfer. A leading option is Strasbourg, so that's basically within the chain. Terms still need to be agreed to, as does the formula of a deal, but things could move quickly between the Bluecoat clubs. Jurgensen has also been approached by other English clubs as well. Chelsea is open to selling or loaning. Bournemouth have not put a price tag on Junior Krupi despite suggestions of €130 million. Krupi is on the radar of several clubs, as we previously mentioned, as with Alex Scott. Bournemouth do not wish to sell. Bluecoat are also not looking to sign Nordschellen's Caleb Urinki for either Strasbourg or Chelsea, despite reports. Liverpool have had preliminary talks for Bradley Barcola. Formal club-to-club negotiations yet to begin, likely it changes soon. PSG's starting point is €170 million. Liverpool view that as inflated and unrealistic. Liverpool also tried to get Barcola last summer when he was valued around 85. Liverpool have no intention to pay double that number now. PSG's position is informed by other deals. Elliot Anderson's at 116 and Morgan Rogers at 117 million pounds. Liverpool factor in Barcola's desire to leave and the fact he's got 2 years left on his deal, feeling within the club as if an agreement isn't reached. PSG risk losing Barcola for far cheaper in 27, given he has no desire to sign a new deal. John Stones, once again, according to Fabrizio Romano, expected to formalize his move to Inter this week, verbally agreeing to a 2-year deal. Danny Welbeck now has broad terms in place to join Chelsea from Brighton, prepared to sanction a sale. Chelsea now confident on a fee. And there was one other thing that I wanted to get into that I saw, and it might take a little bit of getting into this morning. I don't know if you've seen what's going on at Rayo Vallecano. And I know this is kind of sounding very soccer over there-ish, but we are in added time. Apparently, things are so bad at the stadium that hosts Rayo Vallecano, the Vallecas. The community of Madrid has withdrawn the Vallecas concession from Rayo and will urgently intervene in the stadium. Quote, it was not possible to guarantee people's health or sanitation. 18 days to go before their league debut. The community of Madrid, the owner of the stadium, Vallecas, prohibits it from playing in the field by withdrawing the administrative concession. Marca reports that the Madrid regional government have been horrified upon learning the audit results and will urgently begin works in Vallecas, which will last between 2 and 6 months because currently there is a real danger that some tragedy could occur due to the multitude of deficiencies found in the stadium. Audit of the ground has found it needs urgent repairs, with the statement from the government pointing out the club has a direct responsibility and obligation as part of the contract to maintain the stadium. Statement was also attached with images of what they found at the ground, and it looks like a dumping ground. It really does. It's a damn dumping ground. And so they have lost permission, Rayo Vallecano, to host matches at the Estadio de Vallecas after serious safety and maintenance issues were found after an inspection. The photos are disgusting. And so Vallecano's license to be at Vallecas has been blown up. 18 days before the season starts, 24 days before their home debut, and Rayo Vallecano has to go find a new place to play. I mean, literally, you can go on there and you can find the pictures, and it literally does look like a garbage dump. Reported by the community itself and by Mariano De Paco, Minister of Culture, Tourism, and Sport. Technical reports raising concerns about the condition of some areas of the stadium. According to various sports dailies in Union Rayo, regional government believes there's no way to guarantee something won't happen. And so Mariano De Paco said he didn't know if it was going to be 2 months or 6 months, but they'll give real-time updates. Community of Madrid's going to regain control of the management of Vallecas. And according to, from Voz Populi, Mariano De Paco Serrano, quote, what makes the club's attitude even worse and I say this with regret, is that on June 12, we sent our first request for information to see if they could justify all the deficiencies. Not only have they provided nothing, but on the last day of the deadline, they asked for an extension, arguing that there was too much documentation when precisely what is needed to guarantee people's safety. We granted them the extension, and they still failed to provide the information. Currently, the stadium's maintenance does not guarantee that safety. Planned investment of about 60 million euro in expanding capacity to 18,500, modernization, a whole part of the whole thing in the coming years. But right now, Vallecas it's just disgusting. And Rayo Vallecano, quote, according to Infobay, quoting Vallecano's front office, "We are surprised and are working to resolve the situation," end quote. Technical report commissioned speaks of a situation of widespread obsolescence and a severe regulatory noncompliance. And so Vallecano, we're surprised and are working to resolve the situation. Dude, the photos are right there. There's trash in the halls and in the stairwells. It's disgusting. So emergency works. Club's going to have to find a place to play a few weeks before the start of the season. It's been playing since '76 in a stadium that's not theirs, pays to use it. And so Vallecano apparently not doing their part in this whole process. Checking to see if there's anything that I might have missed while we were on the air. Oh, you got to check things domestically. I forgot about that. We do have some other movement that is happening domestically. Rangers are closing in on a deal to sign Olwetu Makanya from Philadelphia Union. First reported by Chris Jack at Rangers Review. Fee of north of $4.5 million. Union get a sell-on clause. Apparently, it's a big percentage. And Makanya, who did not return from South Africa after the World Cup, trying to push his move to Europe, got his transfer. So I think that's probably the largest piece of news that has come out today, has to do with Olwetu Makanya. And we are efforting Dave Leno later this week to catch up with everything in Philly. All right, let me see who's here today. Let me say hi to everybody. And so let's see. Bart, David, Shooter, good morning. Morning, David. Morning, Bots. Morning, Alex. And that should do it. Remember, tonight, it is the U20s at 10 o'clock on FS2. It's the U20s at 5 o'clock, Haiti and Cuba. Thanks to Dr. Howard Jean-Denis from Morehouse for the education on the Haitian diaspora and everything that they are going through. Thanks to Andrea Arnold, the city manager of the city of Decatur, and letting us know about everything going on inside the city now that they've survived Watchfest. Now that they have survived Watchfest, it was good to catch up with her and find out what's going on after the fact. Mancini, Ranieri in, Zidane in. Things were a lot calmer in France than they are in Italy. Tomorrow, interesting show, and we go through a bunch of different directions. Off the top, we get to find out about what's going on at Innovatio Capital. And we get to catch up with their founder, and we get to find out what it's like to own a club in the Liga MX. And it's great to be able to finally catch up a year into the process. Oh, it's over there. Hang on. So it's a year into the process for Innovatio as they own Querétaro. And so it's going to be Mark Spiegel is going to be joining us. Their founder, he's going to be joining us off the top to let us know what it's like to own a team in Liga MX. So I had to get the big calendar. So Innovatio Cap is going to be joining us at 9:05. And Dylan Butler should be joining us at 10. And then also, other than being getting ready for All-Star. 10:30 tomorrow. NPSL has their championship this weekend. We're catching up with Bristol Rhythm and with El Farolito. But tomorrow at 10:30, we get to catch up with the keeper for Bristol Rhythm, Noé Delmati, a junior at East Tennessee State from Bondieu, France, transferred from Tusculum. First choice keeper at Tusculum in Division II. Now he's at East Tennessee State. And his dad, Christophe Delmotte, played over 400 professional matches at Lyon, Lens, and Stade de Reims, currently an assistant for the U21s in France. And he is the keeper for Bristol Rhythm that has gotten them to the last match of the year. Hopefully later in the week we'll be able to catch up with our friends from El Farolito as well. But Bristol Rhythm is in the last match of the year. So we get to find out what's going on with their keeper at 10:30. So tomorrow it is what's it like to be an owner in Liga MX, Dylan Butler on the day of All-Star, and a keeper as you're getting ready for the final in the NPSL with the Bristol Rhythm and Noé Delmati coming up at 10:30 tomorrow. We'll go through what happened with the U20s late tonight and all of the things that are going on in and around the planet. People are still mad at Jermaine Defoe for allegedly not showing up to work. And so after 4 months at Woking, he's out. So we'll have all that stuff for you tomorrow as well with all the transfers. We'll keep an eye on what's going on with Atlanta United and the window. And that's another show. As always, thanks for hanging out with us as you always do. Large device or small, video, audio, live or tape. Back at it again in less than 22 hours. And since this is the end of the show, that means one thing. It means we get to do this. Back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05 Eastern time. We'll see you then. Mucho platiel.